everyone wants AI right now, right? It's the biggest thing, the biggest transition we've had in our industry, maybe the world. It's changing everything at a rapid pace. But most companies, maybe all companies, are layering AI onto perhaps messy systems. AEO is changing how people discover brands, and it's more important than ever for your CRM, for your content and discovery to work together. Welcome to CRM Tuesdays. I am Wendy Lieber, CEO of ContentBacon, and I'm here with my co-host, Omi Diaz Cooper from Diaz Cooper. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I am super excited to have today's conversation. I think it's going to be a really important and interesting topic.
Yeah, so let's just dig into it. So we're going to talk today about, I'm sure everyone's heard of this. It's AIO, AEO. What is it?
AEO. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
it's AI engine optimization. Another term I've heard, which I actually like better, is SEO, but it's now search everything optimization.
Mm,
No longer is the way we were doing SEO is as relevant because people are using way many other tools
mm.
than just going into Google. So just to set the context a little bit, I think, everyone wants AI right now, right? It's the biggest thing, the biggest transition we've had in our industry, maybe the world. And so it's changing everything at a rapid pace. But most companies, maybe all companies, are layering AI onto perhaps messy systems.
Mhm.
AEO is changing how people discover brands, and it's more important than ever for your CRM, for your content and discovery to work together, and they are deeply connected. So, Omi, I know you're really the expert in HubSpot and a lot of the technical features. Can you share a little bit with us about what new HubSpot AI features are actually useful?
Yeah. So specific to AEO, HubSpot just launched a new tool which helps to evaluate your web content for HubSpot calls it answer engine optimization, right? So it could be AI engine or answer engine. I like that term too
Like that.
because it really hones in on how the AI tools think. So before I get into the tool, I do want to dispel two myths. Myth number one is that I no longer have to worry about SEO because I only need to worry about the AI engines. Completely wrong. The foundation that you build with SEO is still a very similar foundation for what you need for AEO. So it's not like one is replacing the other. The other myth is if I just put out a bunch of content, it'll get picked up. So the reason that HubSpot calls it answer engine optimization is because the AI tools are really looking to answer questions. That's the way they think, that's the way they're programmed, right? And so you need to format your content in a way that's going to be attractive to that and literally answering questions. So we always used to tell our clients back in the day for SEO purposes to have a really good solid FAQs page. Well, guess what? Having a really good solid FAQs page is also a very good idea for AEO.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the answer engine optimization. We've actually transitioned how some of our meetings go and kind of converted to what questions are we actually wanting to answer here versus just have a topic. And it's been really great to reframe all of those things because I think, one of our core values is, constantly curious and creating. And that curiosity to me is one of the most valuable superpowers anyone can have. But I think as we're talking about this, it's even more relevant because I think if you really understand your customers or are interested in understanding them, what questions do they have or what questions do you wish they had that you can answer and then making sure you're delivering that on a consistent basis, whether on your website, in your social media, in your emails, all of the above, is a great way to create really relevant, educational, useful content versus, AI slop. So I love the reframing of SEO to answer engine optimization.
Mhm.
So say a little bit more about, I know, you are one of the leaders, when it comes to HubSpot and HubSpot implementation, and you're always kind of in the know before most of the general public is because you do a lot of beta testing. What are you most excited about regarding some of the AI tools within the HubSpot CRM specifically?
Well, I think the AI tools are really starting to fill some gaps that we had before, right? So things like figuring out the AEO grader tool, for example.
Hmm.
Let's start with that one. Most people have had no reliable way to know how their brand was appearing in AI generated answers. A lot of people think, well, I'll just search myself in my own chat GPT and see what happens. Well, guess what? Your chat GPT, and especially if you've trained it in your own content, right? It's going to answer you to please you. It's going to answer you the way that you think, right? What you need is an unvarnished view across all of the different AI engines as to how your brand is actually showing up against competitors, right? The other thing that it helps with is, having that tool right in your CRM where you can then follow the recommendations and, create them inside, especially if you use the whole growth suite, like, or the whole customer platform. Well, with HubSpot, right? If you have your website connected and your emails are being sent out through there and all of that, you can fix the things right in the same tool that you're analyzing them in. So it's gonna, get rid of a lot of the guesswork in the content strategy that you have, and it's gonna give you a really good visibility into, how you're doing against others out there. And the other thing that I think is really important is this is the time to do it. Like everyone that takes this seriously now today, right? They're gonna be because AI only aggregates on what it already knows. So if you're one of the first ones to start appearing, you're going to go a long way. So for example, we just did a search the other day for HubSpot agencies for aviation, and guess what? We were top 3 because there aren't any
Yay!
others in the space that are talking in that way, right?
I love it.
It's a huge advantage that will be a very long-lasting advantage.
That's great. Where are most companies getting it wrong? What are you seeing when, you bring on a new customer or do an analysis for a prospect, and what are you seeing that they're doing wrong or not doing at all in their CRM?
Yeah, there's a few things that are pretty common. The first one is treating AI or these tools as an IT project and not as
Mm,
a business strategy, right? If your executives aren't aligned with the strategy, if marketing and sales don't have input into how things are developed using AI, it's going to be launch and stall, right?
yeah.
So you don't want that. The other part of it is skipping the data readiness, right? So I know we hammer this a lot on our show, but it is so crucial to know that if you have fragmented, duplicate, or incomplete or incorrect CRM data, then any AI project is just going to amplify that mess, right?
Yeah.
So that's the number one way I see AI projects fail. And the other one that's super important is the human aspect. A lot of times, again, they're treating it as a project, as the new shiny thing, but they don't think about adoption, how your team's going to feel about it, how you roll it out. I could go on and on about stuff like security and whatnot, but really, if you want your project to succeed, you have to make sure that you onboard your team properly and help them to adopt the new tools.
Amazing. Yeah, it wouldn't be an episode if we didn't talk about clean data. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So what should businesses prioritize first if they feel behind? Or
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
So it is easy to feel overwhelmed. And, I think we should start simple, right? Obviously, once you've audited and cleaned your data, you want to standardize your processes before you can think about automating them, right? So if you don't even have a sales process, how can you know if an automation is going to help you or not, right? So standardize, then automate. And then start small. activate one high impact use case, right? Do one thing, do it well, iterate, experiment, fix whatever's wrong with it, train your team on it, and then you can roll it out to your bigger organization or roll out other similar projects. Just take it one bottleneck at a time. And I think that's the best way to not feel too overwhelmed. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. What questions do you have for me, or what do you think our audience could benefit learning about on the content side regarding this topic?
The content side, I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on what makes content sound robotic and how can people avoid that?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think if you just go and instead of thinking something through, just press the easy button and use an AI tool to generate an email series, generate website copy. It's going to sound robotic. It's going to use things that are dead giveaways for AI, and it can be quite subtle. I have a personal experience. I write a typically weekly column for LinkedIn called Side of Bacon, and I write it. It comes from my heart. It comes from what's going on in the moment. And I used AI to edit it the other day, and I thought it made me sound so much smarter. So I even got fooled by it. My team obliterated me because they're like, Wendy, this doesn't sound like you. It's stripped out. You use contractions. You don't use, and they sniffed it out immediately. And it was such a good lesson for me to not press the easy button. And here I took an authentic piece of content that was great, but because instead of having my team take a look at it or, train the AI tool, you know, more properly, I created something that was not my voice. And I even got mesmerized by it because it made me sound so much smarter.
Yeah.
So I think that happens a lot if you're not in tune with that stuff. It could be very alluring to think that what AI spit out is great and it's not great. So I think, being very careful about that. And then we touched on it in the beginning. I do really think this curiosity, being very curious and, asking questions, answering them authentically, thinking about your prospects and your customers. What questions do they have that you know the answers to, and giving them that information in a really easy to understand, digestible format, not overly sophisticated. Don't try to sound too professional. Understand your own identity and speak that way. And yeah, you can use AI to help you formulate that. But if you don't have a human editor making sure that what you're putting out there does strip out some of that garbage and that generic language or some of those AI tells, people are going to sniff it out so
Yeah.
quickly and they're just going to ignore it. And that's I mean, I do it all the time, probably all of you do it all the time, so you have to be really careful about that. I don't believe AI is the best place for content creation. I think it's great for, content ideas,
Mhm.
but I think it's so much better for things that are, less human, like more of the technical things, and keep the human involved on the things that are more human, like storytelling and your brand.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also feel on the technical side that the AI content generation tools inside of HubSpot are probably like the most overhyped.
Yeah.
Some of them are fantastic, like Content Remix, but with Content Remix, you have to start with a good piece of content for it to be
Right.
able to remix it correctly. But the totally generated content inside that CRM, to me, that's not where the strength just had a big dragster pass by.
Yeah.
Anyway, that to me, that's not the strongest, piece of AI, but when you look at other, tools inside the CRM that are AI powered that are, super useful, I would say the data enrichment tool is really good, and that's now free, so you don't get it's just part of your subscription. You don't need any credits. some of the forecasting tools, right? Some of the data hygiene built-in tools are, really, really useful and trustworthy. So I think like with anything, it's try it, test it. I love what you said earlier about curiosity, right? Because I think that that is the way that you should approach these things. Not like, oh, here's the miracle easy button, but rather, let me see how I can fit this into my workflow in a way that makes sense, in the way that's going to really give me an actual good output and help make my day easier, but not necessarily a standalone, it just does everything by itself magic
Yeah.
button, right?
Yeah, and I think, content that gets someone to feel like, wow, like I haven't heard this before. I haven't heard this articulated like this, or somebody finally gets it. So, not, if you're just using these tools and can spit out an article in 12 seconds, well, guess what? All your competitors are doing the same thing. So,
Mhm.
I think being able to think about things differently, which, having curiosity will definitely get you there, but sharing things in a way that others have not shared, you know, talking about your success stories and giving people those insights, you know, being contrarian, being willing to maybe piss some people off because you have a strong opinion and you're willing to share it versus, no, I just want to keep everything vanilla and, I want to play it safe. I think we don't live in a world anymore where that works, right? I think
Mhm.
things have evolved and the prospects that want to work with us want to work with a company that's going to give it to you straight, that's going to actually argues probably the challenge you, not going to just, yes you to death because we want to make you happy, but we want to make you successful. We want to get you results. And
Yeah.
that's our style. And if, a lot of our content, that's how it reads because we want that to come across. Because if you want to work with someone that doesn't ever cuss, you probably don't want to work with us, you know? Like that's just the fact.
I speak French too.
Yeah, so I think being willing to, going back to that overused word authentic, that's what authenticity really is actually being honest about who you really are and being willing to not have everyone want to work with you because your style doesn't match everyone else's style. Good. Go find the company that does match your style more. And that just creates more alignment and more fit. So I think having all of that linked together is really important. And I think that kind of goes to what we were talking about in the beginning, which maybe would be a good thing for us to touch on, but how your CRM, your content, and your customer journey all need to work together. So I'll let you maybe speak from your perspective, and then I'll share from mine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, I'm not going to go into like all the technical doodads inside the CRM, like life cycle stages and lead scoring and all of that that go along with that. But suffice it to say that you need a system that's going to treat your customer as a different, not a different person, but they have different needs depending on where they are in their but they'll have a different need when they're first starting to formulate what is this problem that I have. And back in the old funnel days, that was like the awareness stage, right? That's still valid. That's still like sometimes the customer knows they have an issue, but they're not 100% sure, what are the ramifications of it or where it comes from, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to need, different kinds of answers than when they already know exactly what's wrong and what they want and they're ready to go, right? So it's really important to align not only I'll let you speak to that from a messaging perspective, but from a technology perspective, use proper segmentation for the different stages of the journey, use proper segmentation for different kinds of problems, right? So that you're meeting your clients where they're at instead of trying to shove information at them.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. It's really, first of all, you need to understand your customer journey, right? If you have a product or service that is somewhat complicated and or is a considered purchase, meaning it's emotionally like it's meaningful or financially, the sales cycle is going to be longer. Just
Mhm.
full stop. You're not going to turn it
Yeah.
into a widget that someone, doesn't spend 5 seconds thinking about. They just buy it, which we
Right.
all know companies like that. That's a different model. So understanding your customer journey, just because someone visits your site or downloads something does not mean they're ready to buy. So do not bombard them. Try to get a meeting with them. Like understand what your audience goes through, what they need to go through, and then make sure you have the answers. Make sure if they're going to do research that you've got the ability for them to do research and get to what they need easily without having to contact you, without having to go through some gated content. Make it easier for your audience to get the information they need. Understand the different milestones that they're going to go through and then adjust your content properly. And that may feel like a lot, but it's so important because there's nothing worse than all these tools now where people can just visit your site and, it can grab your information. And the next thing you know, you're getting a call or a text or it's not just creepy, it's offensive. And
Mhm.
it means that you don't understand and you don't care. Like you actually don't care about me and my experience. All you care about is you and getting the sale. And
Yeah.
I think that so first, understanding your buyer journey, using your CRM to support that, and then creating content that actually helps and adds value and is all about them, not about you. So I think, yeah, that's my
Yeah.
stance, and I'm sticking to it.
As well you should. All right. I
Yeah.
mean, I agree. I think that, if you can create that trust, if you can have clarity about the value that you provide, and if you can present that to your prospects at a relevant timing, then you're going to win.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. I don't know if it was on this episode or a previous one, but it's all about timing, right? Because I may be the ideal customer for you, but you're not, if your offering is not something I'm thinking about right now because I'm dealing with a crisis, it doesn't matter how great your current emails are. It's about consistency, it's about buying signals, not about aggressiveness and, "Oh my gosh, this person, you know, did this at one time. They must be ready." It's all timing, and so staying consistent in a way that's meaningful so that I don't opt out because, wow, I get such great info and insights from Omi and her company. Yeah, I know the timing's not right now, but I know at some point it will be, and maybe it's 6 months down the line. I mean, I've had customers come to us and I'm like, "Hey, I've been reading your stuff for years." And they're great customers, but it took 2 years. Well,
Right.
had I handled those, our company handled those relationships differently, they might have opted out and I might not have them today. So, you know, these are basics that haven't changed because of AI. I think the fact that AI has made it easier to do so much of this has had us stop thinking about what's really important and putting your customer, your prospect first and making sure what you're doing is in their best interest, not in yours always. So,
Yeah.
yes. All right.
100%.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, as always, thank you for your insights. I always say if you need these things done, it's easier to hire someone than try to figure it all out. But we'll always give you how to figure it out. But hire Omi and her company. They're the best when it comes to HubSpot implementation, especially in the aviation space. If you're in the aviation space, you're not talking to them, you're dumb. So
I love that. Yeah, and
it's your new tagline.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and likewise, I would just say, I get so much out of these conversations and you just drop pearls of wisdom and, content creation just would not be the same without the help of someone like Wendy and her team at ContentBacon.
Thank you, Omi. Thank you to our listeners and see you next time.
See you next time.